Welcome, everyone. Today, in this story, we go deep into a part of your life that many people ignore. The space between your thoughts and your voice. The hidden world where English begins. Not on your tongue, but in your mind. This is not just a story about how to speak English better. It's about the courage to express who you truly are. It's about the silent struggle that lives inside so many of us. And the powerful, beautiful freedom that comes when you finally stop translating and start thinking and speaking in English. This story is not about a famous person or a fictional hero. It is about something more important. It is about you, your mind, your voice, your transformation. There was once a man who moved to a new country with hopes in his heart and fear in his throat. He had studied English for years, memorized grammar rules, repeated vocabulary lists, passed all the exams. But when it came time to speak, he froze. His thoughts were fast and alive, but his mouth was slow and unsure. Every conversation felt like a test, every sentence like walking on a tightrope. He avoided speaking unless absolutely necessary. He smiled and nodded, pretending to understand. Inside, he was drowning in silence. No one saw it, but every day he was fighting a quiet war. One morning, as he stood in line at a grocery store, an old woman turned and said something to him. He didn't understand the words, but he saw the kindness in her eyes. He wanted to respond, even with just a sentence. But nothing came. His mind was searching, translating, correcting. And by the time he opened his mouth, the moment was gone. The woman smiled and turned away. He walked home with heavy steps and a heavier heart. That night, he looked at himself in the mirror and whispered, "Why can't I speak?" Maybe you felt like that. Maybe you still do. You know the words. You understand the sentences. But when the time comes to speak, something blocks you. You hesitate, you worry, you feel embarrassed. And slowly, you begin to lose confidence. Not just in your English, but in yourself. Let me tell you something that no textbook teaches. Speaking English is not about knowing everything. It's about letting go of fear, letting go of the idea that every sentence must be perfect, letting go of the voice in your head that says, "What if I make a mistake?" That voice is not your enemy. It's your protector. It wants to keep you safe from judgment, from shame. But that same voice is also what keeps you silent. And silence, my friend, can be more dangerous than any grammar mistake. The turning point in this story is small, but powerful. The man was walking in the park one day, watching the wind move through the trees. A boy nearby lost his ball, which rolled toward him. The boy shouted, "Can you pass it?" The man didn't have time to think. He picked up the ball and said, "Here." One word. Just one word. But that single word broke something. It cracked the wall he had built inside. He looked at the boy, who smiled and said, "Thanks." And for the first time in years, the man smiled back. Not politely, but with pride. That was the moment he realized something important. He didn't need to speak perfectly. He just needed to speak, not for others, not for exams, but for himself. That small exchange changed everything. It showed him a new truth. Fluency isn't about never making mistakes. It's about not letting those mistakes control your life. You see, we grow up believing that language is something outside of us, something we must master. But language is not just a skill. It's a bridge between your inner world and the world outside. When you can think in English, that bridge becomes strong. When you stop translating, your words begin to flow. And when your thoughts and your voice move together, that is when true fluency begins. But how do you start thinking in English? Isn't that something only advanced speakers can do? That is a lie. Thinking in English is not about being advanced. It's about being willing. It starts with the small things. When you wake up in the morning, don't say suba hogayi in your native language. Say it's morning now. When you make coffee, say to yourself, this smells good. When you walk outside, think, the air is cold today. Simple, easy, honest. These thoughts don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be long. They only need to be English. Because every time you think a thought in English, your brain becomes more comfortable. Your mind begins to trust the language. And slowly, you stop translating. You start living in English. I remember my own journey. Years ago, I moved to a city where English was everywhere. I felt like a stranger in every conversation. People talked fast. They used words I didn't know. I smiled a lot, nodded even more. But inside, I felt lost. One day, I decided to do something simple. I would speak to myself in English for 5 minutes every morning. That was it, just 5 minutes. At first, it felt strange. I made many mistakes. I forgot words. I laughed at myself. But I kept going. And something amazing happened. My 5 minutes turned into 10. 10 turned into 20. And soon, English stopped feeling like a subject. It became a voice inside me. That's what I want for you. I don't want you to wait until you're ready. Because here's the truth. You are ready enough right now. Your English doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be alive. It needs to breathe. It needs to move with you, grow with you, fail with you, and rise with you. You will make mistakes. That's part of it. Every fluent speaker has said the wrong thing. Every confident voice was once unsure. Mistakes are not signs of weakness. They are signs that you are trying. And trying, my friend, is braver than silence. I once met a woman who told me, I don't speak because I don't want to sound stupid. I looked at her and said, but when you don't speak, no one hears how smart you are. She went quiet, and then she cried. Not because she was sad, but because she realized how many years she had lost to fear. Don't lose your years to fear. When you think in English, your voice grows stronger. And when your voice grows stronger, your world opens up. You start to ask questions in class. You speak up in meetings. You make friends who speak English. You travel without fear. You apply for jobs you once thought were out of reach. You share your story, your real story, without hesitation. And slowly, the quiet version of you fades away. A new version rises, bold, bright, full of life. That is why this story matters. Because this is not just about language. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. English is not just words. It's opportunity, connection, power, and above all, freedom. The freedom to speak. The freedom to belong. The freedom to be heard. I want you to imagine something. Close your eyes, just for a moment. Imagine walking into a room full of English speakers. You sit down. Someone turns to you and says, "What do you think?" And without panic, without fear, you answer. Not perfectly, but clearly. You share your idea. You speak your truth. They listen. They nod. They understand. And you feel proud. That is possible. Not someday, not after years, but starting now. Start with small steps. One English thought each morning. One English sentence to yourself at lunch. One short conversation with a stranger. And soon, English won't be something you use. It will be something you are. And when you finally stop translating and start thinking in English, everything changes. You stop doubting. You stop hesitating. You start speaking, naturally, freely, boldly. Because English is not a cage. It is a key. And that key has been in your hands this whole time. You just needed someone to remind you. So here is your reminder, my friend. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not bad at English. You are becoming. And every time you choose to think in English, you take one step closer to the confident, fluent, powerful version of yourself. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait to be perfect. Start now. Start small. But start, because the most beautiful conversations you'll ever have in English haven't happened yet. They are waiting for your voice. They are waiting for your courage. They are waiting for you. And I believe in you with all my heart. So the next time you feel the silence, remember this story. Remember the man with the ball. Remember the voice that broke free. And remember, every sentence begins with a thought. Every thought can live in English. And every word you speak brings you one step closer to fluency, to confidence, to freedom. You can do this, not because you must, but because you deserve to be heard. And the world deserves to hear you. Keep going, keep growing, keep thinking and speaking in English.